Hello everybody and welcome back to the shop. In this video I'm going to show what it takes to turn this guy into a top performing block plane. I already did a video where I took a deep dive into what this guy looked like and how old he is and a little historical perspective. And I have another video where I show you the fun I had replating this lever cap and turning it into a real beauty. Definitely want to check those two out. So let's dive into it. So I cleaned this with some soap and water and I'm finally getting a good look at it. And it might be hard to tell from the reflections, but the Japanning, the black paint on it, looks nearly complete. A little bit of maybe abrasions on the inside of the cheeks. So I finally got this piece out. A little bit of oil, a couple days, and it popped right out. And it has a B casting on the inside, which I think is kind of neat. And it's in good shape. Did a little bit of very light sanding and filing, and it's moving pretty smoothly now. So I'm happy with that. You can see it's moving pretty well. I have a makeshift polishing station here, drill in my vise, and a clamp to hold the trigger down. Well, I was having some trouble with my camera, so I lost some videos, so I'm going to have to summarize. With this particular piece, I use a technique that I showed you in a previous video called cleaning intricate brass. I made this paste. It's distilled vinegar with some salt and some flour. And instead of scrubbing the paste on the brass, I just dunked it in and let it sit overnight or so. And just look at how clean that came out. Barely any dirt at all. Then I chucked this up in a drill and I lightly used some steel wool just to take off some of these machine marks here. But I left all the little chips and divots that were on that. So I retained most of the character and got it nice and clean. In my experience, these stamped steel pieces that Stanley cranked out, I think in the process of stamping them, you get the concave surface on the edges, meaning that the top and the bottom stick out a little bit beyond the edge. And when you first get one of these pieces, it's all tarnished, and the first thing you're inclined to do is take a little sandpaper to the edge, and you end up with a dark line that runs right down the middle of it. And that's the one area where I am a little more aggressive. I will go at the edges with a file and try to get rid of that dark line. Once that's done, the faces, it's your call. I typically try to use the least aggressive that I can get away with. And you can see from this piece, there's still some pits in here that I might even be able to get out if I choose to, but I don't want to remove that much material. And I'm just delighted that these patent dates are visible and that the word Stanley is visible on this guy. And the same holds true for this piece. I very carefully filed the edges, got most of the tarnish off, and then I very lightly sanded the top and the bottom. Finer grits, a little steel wool, and even touching it on the polishing wheel on my drill press. And you can see there's a patent date on that guy as well. The iron only had surface rust on it, so it cleaned up really nicely. Almost looks brand new. And this thing's over 100 years old. Just tickled on that one. This is a 600 grit small piece of sandpaper holding it in place with a rectangular file. And this file does not have teeth on the edges, so I don't have to worry about the file inadvertently hitting the side of the plane. I do have to worry about these nibbies down here. They're in alignment with this face. And that gives the bed where the irons sit nice and smooth. It's not completely tarnish free, but I'm okay with that. I spent some time cleaning and shining up this vertical lever. It's got a deep scratch and several deep pits in there that I just didn't want to remove the material to get them out. And it's sanded up to 300 grit, so it's looking pretty good. And I purposely did not sand or file the inside of the mouth, because I didn't want to introduce any more slop in the depth adjustment mechanism. And I thought I'd mention, like with my 9.5, I did try to drive this pin out to free the lever. And you put it on the side, and I supported this side, tried to tap it, and I didn't have the nerve to hit it hard enough to try to get the pin to move. So I decided to clean this in place. I have seen other people have written that there could be a mushrooming of this pin, and maybe the technique is to grind this pin flush on one side, and maybe it'll drive out easier. Well, it's time to sharpen the iron, and the first thing you do is try to get an idea how flat the back is. If you're lucky, somebody in the past has taken the time to do this already for you. And by looking at that, it doesn't look too bad so far. It's shiny here, a couple other scratches, a little bit of a hollow in here. Well, it's taken about 15 minutes, and I have this really flat. It's flat all the way from here on up. There's a hint of a couple scratches running up and down to the iron. Didn't quite get them all out, but that is about as flat as any iron I've ever flattened. So I do believe somebody had taken time at least once or twice in this iron's life to flatten the back, and I'm the happy recipient of it. And now it's just a matter of getting an edge on her. And I don't know if this is a fair comparison, but here's the iron out of the 18 in question, and here's a more modern Stanley block plane with the notched logo. And you can see lining up the holes in the top. Down here it looks like about a 1/4 inch of this iron has been taken away from countless sharpenings and honings. I'm going to sharpen the iron now. I have a jig here. Go for 25 degrees. With the back nice and flat, next we're going to see what's up with the bevel. I can see some scratches on it, and it's in my honing guide to 25 degrees. And it is decidedly wearing on the heel of the bevel, indicating that this was initially honed to some angle higher than 25 degrees. And I don't think I want to go higher than 25. So I just readjusted the jig to 27.5 degrees, and I'm definitely hitting the cutting edge of the iron. So this initial bevel angle is somewhere between 25 and 27.5. So that's not so bad. I'm going to reset it to 25. Well, it's taken about a half hour, but I have this bevel nice and clean at 25 degrees, and I brought it just up to where the original edge was, and we are still nice and square. I was trying to be extra careful not to remove any more material from this little piece of history iron than I had to. So it's looking good, just a matter now of polishing this edge, getting this to a nice razor sharp. Well, I think we're pretty sharp. I didn't record it because you've seen me do it before, but once I established the primary bevel on a 400 grit diamond, I went to progressively finer grits, 700 grit, 1000 grit, 6000 grit, and finally stropping it on the coarse and fine side of the strop. And it's looking pretty good, and if I rub it along, that is good clean shave. And we'll see how she does with a piece of paper. So I'd say she's pretty sharp. Well, this lever cap's actually looking pretty good. I think I could actually just polish it up a little more and get some wax on it, and it would look pretty similar to what it looked like when it was brand new. But I've done a little bit of nickel electroplating in the past. If you've seen my videos, you know I did it on a lever cap to a Miller's Falls plane, and I think I'm going to try to do something similar again. I did a separate video on how I turned this guy from this to this into this. It was quite an adventure, and I had several learning curves to climb, but it came out great. So check out that video when you get a chance. Since I'm planning on restoring this to a like-new condition, I've decided I'm going to start lapping the exterior of the sole. Bring a bit of a shine to it. I don't think I'm going to get these deep scratches out. Those are, I can feel them with my finger. That's pretty deep. And it looks okay. This has only been a few minutes, and I've got, I don't know, what's that, 80% of it or so. A little bit of a hollow in here and around the edges, which are fine. Well, here it is. The body shined up, came out pretty good. Started with 150 grit sandpaper, went up to 180, then 320, then 600 for a little bit of a polish. These handy grips, the striations or scratch marks are running up and down, so I tried to preserve that to some degree, while the scratch marks on the polishing of the body are running the length of it, and I tried to maintain that just for kicks, I guess. Came out good. The letter A that was there before, still legible, although I took a little bit of away, not too bad. And I stand corrected, I did get those scratches out of the bottom. Had to hand polish a little bit of it, but not much. I notice there's a crack down here, which doesn't seem to go through, but I'm sure that's not going to add to the value of the plane, unfortunately. I didn't see it till I started working on it, and I'd swear I could see a little bit of an outline of the crack over here. So, oh well, you got what you got, right? And all the surfaces get a good rubbing of the Howard's Feed and Wax. And now for the moment we've all been waiting for. This piece threads into here. As soon as the screw starts to protrude, you want to try to get it to grab the boss and the plane. It's looking pretty good. It's in about there. There you go. And I've got the iron set up. It is sharp, looking quite handsome. This is a piece of poplar, and it was rough sawn. A couple passes with the plane. And I would say that's pretty fine indeed. Well, that's all I got for this guy. Works like a champ. Had a lot of fun doing it. Hope you guys got something out of it. Please like, subscribe if you will. Leave a comment if you've got something to say. You know I love to read them. And take care, be safe, and check me out on the next one.